guys, it's time for a ZVZ. Definitely a David versus Goliath match here. Losira versus Dark. Now, even though I think we can all agree that Dark should win this, Losira has been pretty crafty in Zerg vs. Zerg.
Yeah, Losira is strong, and Dark plays off-brand ZVZ quite often, so, you know, things can go wrong with that occasionally.
And let's not forget that the winner of this series goes on to face off against Maru, who right now is in the makeup room making barracks and reapers as we speak.
No doubt about that,
Yeah.
but he's going to have to switch it up, I think. Like, again, if Losira advances, I think that's his best chance. Dark is not taking any of that Reaper crap tonight. It is not going to work against him, I don't think, seriously.
If Dark moves on, by the way, I predict him to play still more like he did in the previous games against the Reaper style than the way that Sue did.
Absolutely.
Dark and Sue are kind of the yin and yang of Zerg as far as their approaches.
Yeah.
So let's see how this goes now. ZVZ can be a tricky matchup. It's one that Dark a lot of times likes to open up with a quick pull in. Pretty aggressively.
Absolutely, yeah. He loves to get aggressive here.
Kind of showing us that in a ZVZ, sometimes it's better to just keep on the side of aggression than to do anything greedy. We did see Losira go for 3 hatches before pool to start things off against Sue, but I don't think we're going to see him do that anymore.
Yeah,
tonight.
especially not in these maps. Proxima is definitely a different map for that one place that you have to defend.
Yeah, and
So-
also I think some of that was just to mask the way he probably plays more normally now in ZVZ, since Dark is definitely somebody who can download his opponent if he just sees enough games. We now go into this best of 3. Whoever loses this series is knocked out of the GSL Codex. In the upper left, in the blue, the underdog. I don't know what's going on. We got people cheering. Uh-oh.
You broke it.
I could tell you.
broke it. When Rapid was here, this didn't happen once. God. Tasis just comes in.
I can tell you there's a lot of people yelling at each other up in production. That would be my guess right now. In the bottom right, is it ready this time? In the red, Dark. Oh, that's why I don't do the voiceovers for that.
Oh, my God.
I sounded like a 15-year-old trying to do the Batman voice. One day when I finish puberty, I'll sound a lot better.
Yeah. Quick, as you were talking about, quick pool and gas here from Dark. Losira, not double hatch before pool, but single hatch.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. I agree.
Oh, by the way, the balance of the top 4 is already perfect. We already have a Terran, a Zerg, and a Protoss all guaranteed.
Oh, isn't that nice when that happens?
Yeah, David Kim is always right, man.
Yeah.
It's like always the case. Just want to throw that out there for everyone.
Stops the angry nerds.
Oh, no, it just makes them more angry. Like, statistics don't matter. Even though GSL top 4 is almost always like that.
Yeah. But if it isn't like that, you're like, are you guys even paying attention, Blizzard?
Don't tell me to play more like TY. It's too hard. Protoss is Imba. It's like, I don't know, man.
Oh, man, I don't know if you got the right attitude to get good at this game. Now look at Dark being a sneaky snake.
Yeah, running his lings right around. Knows that at Overlord distance. This is going to catch him off guard for sure, man.
Sneaky snakes don't have rattles at the end of their tails, Artosis.
No, those are the least sneaky snakes.
Yeah. And okay, he's going to go all...
This is like a water snake.
Yeah. Ooh,
It's like
that's
there's
a scary
lake
one.
you don't even know there's a poisonous water snake.
Yeah.
In there. Because that eel... Ah! No, it was a water snake.
Yeah, it was a water snake. Sorry, but you're dead now.
Oh, man.
Uh-oh. Two lings down. And the drones are not in a great position either.
No, certainly not. Going to be able to pick off one here in the natural. Has the Baneling Nest on the way, by the way. Losira is up by 10 drones. So if he can somehow make this work out without losing too many of them, oh, God, I don't think that's going to happen.
Oh! All the drones go down. I don't think Lucira's screen was over in the right spot.
And now the Queen's going to be picked off very quickly. Dark's going to be able to get up and surround.
Don't swim with the sneaky snakes, boys. We take the 2 Queens taken out. The spine will be destroyed as well. And
oh, God. Oh, God. Just detonate it!
Just detonate it! You're so greedy!
So greedy! Just do it! They all die!
Oh! All right, there it is.
Oh!
Only a few more heartbeats left, potentially, in this game for losira.
Yep. So that is 2 games in a row where losira just dies in like 3 seconds to a Ling Bane all in.
Yeah. GG.
This is losira's night. You watch, he'll win a macro game next and then barely lose the 3rd game.
Awesome.
And he'll
Ling
just
rush
be like,
is done
wow.
quick. Yeah.
Yeah. Losira will be like, wow, well, that's unfortunate.
Well, I thought that was a very good choice there for Dark to open up like that. I do want to point out, in case you guys weren't paying full attention to that, what Dark did back there was he ran his Lings around so there was no way to see the Lings come in there. And what happens on Lucira's end is he makes a few more drones because he feels safe, right? He doesn't see any offense. This is an older strat we've seen a lot in Brood War. In the latter part of Brood War, but it did carry over once ZBZ really got mapped out in StarCraft 2. And Dark used it there, and you might be wondering, well, what on earth is Losira going to do against that if you just can't see it coming? Well, you got to be ready for anything and everything.
Yeah. And, you decide to take certain risks. You assign probabilities to what's coming, and sometimes you don't assign them quite correctly, and you end up dying. So
we go now to the map Odyssey. Losira versus Dark. Things not looking very good for Losira. Again, Maro just recovering from that last best of 3, trying to get ready for one of these 2 Zergs, who right now most likely is going to be Dark.
Yeah, that was a very strong victory. Couple maps not too unlike Ascension to Ire coming up, especially Odyssey.
All right, guys, let's do this. Game number 2. Fight. Keep your fingers crossed for Losira. Maybe you can make a comeback.
In a cloud of fire we stand. Fight, we start war. Are you ready to fight?
Yeah! In the upper left, in the blue, losing game number 1.
Losira.
Player intros on point this time around.
About time. If I was subscribed to GSL, I'd have canceled it after that last one.
In the bottom right, in the red, winning game number 1 pretty handedly.
Dark.
Dark, another player who doesn't have a GSL championship yet. Kind of a funny thing, don't you think?
Well, we've had a lot of players who've had big success in these different kinds of tournaments, these ones where it is a marathon. It is like a 5-day tournament or a 3-day tournament, and they play all their games back-to-back, and they might not know who's on what side of the bracket and what the other player's play style was really all about. And, sometimes you see these other players have a lot of success. But the GSL is a different beast to take on. I mean, you have a lot of time to prepare for specific players and specific play styles. And you get to put a lot of thought into that, and that really emphasizes the preparation and strategy portion of StarCraft, where you can't just be a solid player who's pretty much good most of the time. If your opponent has time to research you, they have time to engineer something that may counter your style of play. So there's a lot of mind games that you see long before these games ever start.
Yeah, definitely is the case. Of course, whoever advances out of the remaining 3 players goes up against Byun in the round of 8, which is definitely a tough one. But, I'm looking at this, and I find it hard to imagine Losira beating Maro, even though Maro keeps on doing 3-X Reaper. Just because Losira's ZVTs in general, it feels to me like his weak matchup.
Well, also, I feel like Losira is... I don't mean this in a crude way, but just like the less developed Zerg. He's like really, really good, and he's one of the best players that you can find if you had to make a list of all the top players. Lucira's been around since the very beginning, but I don't quite feel like he's quite as strong, quite as fast.
Yeah, for me, he's someone who will always be in Code S.
Yeah.
And sometimes be in round of 16. That's who he is.
I think that's a good way to put it. And if he gets to round 8, that's really cool. It's really exciting, but... comparatively, just if you look at the overall execution and see who seems to be basically playing ahead of the meta, or in some cases defining the very meta itself, it's not normally Losira.
No, generally not. You're right about that.
Losira is just pretty much a mechanically good Zerg. He's definitely smart and can hit hold his own against almost anybody. But when you're in a tournament as competitive as GSL Code S, he tends to get filtered out around the round of 16.
Yeah.
Maybe earlier.
And that is probably going to be the case coming up. We'll see. Dark is the first one to start making a plume of lings here. Getting some Banes on the way. A lot of lings being produced. Both players on 3 bases. Or going to 3 bases at least. Nice scout there by losira, though.
Yeah, that was kind of crazy, wasn't it? Now he's going to be able to get one of those Banelings. Never cost efficient for the Baneling to just get one of those. Now, it seems so far like Dark is just going to commit to this rush. Now, losira has Banelings of his own purely for defensive functions. And he has to space these out properly.
Now, Dark is droning behind this, but he has a good amount of lings to get some of this harass done.
Oh, wow. He gets one of those Banes. The defense for the blue Zerg here at losira is very much so hinged on having the Banelings in a position where they can, if possible, connect. And just like that, can connect with some of those lings. Actually, this is kind of crazy here by Dark.
Ooh,
the blockage.
Yeah, this one Bane could actually cause quite a few drone deaths. Ooh. Yeah, he loses the lings right there as well, or he could have gotten another 2-3 drones. Only got 1 there, though.
Well, a lot of these Banelings are just getting picked off. I actually feel like losira might be able to seesaw this back over to Dark side of the base and maybe take out that hatchery. And that's going to be an uphill battle here for Dark if that is the case. Now, there's not quite enough lings here for losira, right now at least, to combat just the lings alone here for Dark. So we'll have to see how they both execute this. Controlling this ramp here for losira is going to be important because otherwise the lings can't filter down and therefore can't defend. That's kind of crazy. He's going to pull that Baneling back.
Yeah, the lings still just kind of running around a bit. Both sides actually going for their Roach Warrens. The first one to make a significant amount of Roaches, though, will be Dark.
Seems like Dark's also stabilized over here at his 3rd base. The lings here for Dark are now running in. Pretty bad placement there once Dark actually got in. He just wants to see if there's any kind of definitive tech that can allow him to react properly. Now, the Roaches are coming up here. I don't believe losira can do any further damage, though.
No, it really looks like it's over. I like the fact that he moved out with a small group of Roaches with some Banes, because if you have an overly heavy Ling defense against that, it gets really cost-efficient for the Roach Bane player. Won't be the case this time, but, ooh, this is a nice sneaky maneuver. Oh, my God.
This is great. This is the kind of play that he needed to have against Dark. And the fact that that worked, I mean, it's hard for Dark to just always be prepared to see everything on the mini-map.
Yeah.
And hitting him like that was great. 8 workers killed in a pretty key moment. This is where the games sort of stabilize and they can't really hurt each other as far as like trying to run over a hatchery. So just hitting all those drones just gives you an edge. You have a lot more momentum as you build up.
Yeah, that was a pretty gigantic connection there. So really well done tactically by losira to get those 2 lings up, morph them into Banes, and get the detonation off. So you see that difference in the drone count here. 11 additional drones for losira, and he's not really that far behind as far as army goes.
Couple more lings sent out here now. Dark trying to monitor the rate of teching and upgrades here for losira. See if he can't find some kind of an answer to how he has to play. Again, it was a tricky part where Dark got hiccuped back there by losing those drones right after the rushes basically lost all pull.
Yeah. Dark might have to stay a little bit more defensive because of this. He's caught up in drones finally, but of course that does mean he's going to be just slightly behind in the army size. Both sides going up to their layers. And just going to remain on this Roach tech. And, you know, if you do stay defensive, a loss of those 8 drones, while very painful, you're close enough to your hatcheries that even if losira attacks you, as long as you defend well, you should be able to hold on.
Yeah, it's basically a game where Dark's playing a little bit of catch-up here. losira knows he has this, not a huge advantage, but, you know, he has a lead. So he's trying to figure out how he can try to cement that lead with another follow-up play. They could be pretty good.
Dude, Dark actually made an additional 10 drones. Okay, it looks like losira is going to add some drones too. I was getting a little bit worried there because that starts getting into a place where it's like, okay, you've spent 18 larvae that losira did not on drones. And when you start getting numbers like that and losira doesn't make any extra drones, oh man, the attack is going to be brutal.
Also note that Dark over here is taking the gold base. I don't know why those drones are there.
Maybe he wants to make some spies.
Maybe. Does he?
Maybe he wants to offensive.
He's bringing 3 drones, so it seems like, this must be what he wants to do. Maybe try to divide the 3 bases.
He wants to build some offensive hatcheries.
Yeah, there you go.
show off a little bit here.
Okay, now those. All right. Well.
Yeah, I don't know.
Well, let's just watch these drones for a little bit longer. Okay, well that doesn't look great.
He probably was just grabbing all the eggs, so he's making some extra drones, and then the eggs sent the drones up.
He's going to make spires on his opponent's creep. No, he just didn't mean to bring those. So the roaches are backing up. Now, in an interesting play where Dark seemed to be a little bit behind, it seems like he's balanced the defense and the economy to the point where he also managed to just get his other hatchery up. Now, the response here from losira is to actually make 2 more hatcheries.
Okay.
But you have to keep in mind that the hatchery over there for Dark at the gold base finishes much sooner than the hatcheries, I should say, for losira.
It's definitely
and
true.
So, he could just suddenly get a lot of roaches and maybe try to run this over. Now, I think losira has the right idea by sending these roaches up here and trying to just stop workers from mining there, since losira's hatches are almost done, one of which is at the gold base.
Look at the tech difference here. Dark is going into Spire, which is really good in Roach Ravager versus Roach Ravager, but losira is preemptively going into Hydralisks. So that's going to give him a death ball that if there are mutas, he can kind of just attack with, and the mutas will do 0 against.
By the way, losira buying a lot of time with these roaches. Look at how much this is pulled back here. So this is a great little play. The hatcheries are basically done now for losira.
Are we going to see some mutas made? Yeah, I'm not sure.
What is going on?
I don't know.
We're seeing like synchronized swimming here from the drones, but they're not mining.
Well, he wants the natural drones in the main and the main drones in the natural, or something like that.
I don't know what just happened there. We might have missed something there, guys.
I mean, you could have just been some misclicks. These guys are moving very quickly, needless to say.
Thanks, Artos. Also, everybody, these guys are trying their best.
Yeah.
In case you're wondering,
these guys play this game a lot.
These guys really care, and this tournament means a lot to them. So we have the 2 hatches up here for losira, one of which is badly bruised. I'm sorry, I'm almost thrown off here. That was one of Lucira's hatches that's almost dead, right?
Yes, okay. Yes, that's one of Lucira's.
I think I got so thrown off by seeing the drones moving back there. And it looks like, there it is. He's going to end up taking this out.
So this is kind of interesting, right? Because the Spire was made by Dark, but he's actually going into Baneling speed at this point. I think this is obviously when you see that your opponent has already gone Hydras, you don't want to make. Oh god, good fungals.
Ooh.
But you don't want to be making those Mutalisks. Instead, he's fighting with Roach Ravager here, throwing down those Biles. Actually, so many of them connecting.
Yeah, a shocking amount actually connecting. Gutsy play here by losira, morphing some more Ravagers right there. A pretty intimidating amount of Hydralisks up and over here. You can see losira really, actually super saturating the gold base. It's mining, being mined from up there. As the game goes on, it seems like Dark is on his back foot. Although, in fairness, Dark did even out the number of expansions.
Yeah, I like some of the things he's doing here, though, right? Like, the Baneling speed is something that could come into play a little bit later on.
Yeah, I think so. Well, especially with the number of Hydras are out here. If he morphs the Banelings like further in the back and then comes in with those Banes,
like flanks with them or something?
Those are not Stim Marines. Like, he can't just fork those out. You know, in some ways, when I look at some of these fights, I feel like Dark just really gets this matchup. Yeah. What we're not seeing, by the way, over here, I was going to say, is this. Now, unfortunately, he didn't target down drones there, but, you know, it seems like Dark is sort of okay with whatever's happening here from losira.
Yeah. Dark has done a really good job of, like, kind of fighting against this death bally composition. losira, having taken those additional bases and gone into Hydralisks, the Hydralisks need to be near the rest of your army. They have a higher damage output than the Roaches and Ravagers, but they'll die so quickly that you just kind of need everything together. And so Dark has been putting in a little bit of extra harassment. He stayed on the Roaches, made some more Ravagers, and nailed so many Corrosive Biles because this death ball, this ground death ball out of losira is so thick, you have to move like your whole entire army to dodge the Biles.
Once again, losira trying to move out on the map. There's not a very clear and easy place that losira wants to hit from here. The gold base is in sort of a secure position. So they're beginning to meet here in the middle. It's a bit of a tug of war here for control over the center, so that if they do see a very clear advantage, they can split off and then run to an expansion and try to hit it. It's Dark doing the tiny counterattacks, assassinating queens, whereas it's Losira that really wants to do some kind of bludgeoning attack.
A bunch of mutas actually just popped out. The Hydralisk count has gotten so low, it looks like he's decided that the mutas can help out at this point, but this is also a chance for Losira. That's a lot of money put into these mutas and quite a bit of supply as well, so can he bust through right now before they get that extra damage done?
It almost seems like Losira has actually dislodged the defensive position that Dark was kind of banking on. I mean, this third base, I should say, over here is going to be picked off most certainly. And there's also an attack up here at the top, and I think Losira might be beginning to close this out. He's doing the damage he needs to do. All he has to do is keep regrouping and countering the unit composition that's coming here from Dark, and I think Losira is going to be in good shape.
Yeah, he's killed a lot of drones and that third base as well. The mutas are gaining a little bit of value, but all he has to do is make a few Hydras to counter that once again. Dark kind of chasing him across the map right now. Dark does have a strong army still, but Losira has more than enough and is expanding once again.
Yeah, I think Losira is keeping the lead and not overextending. He's not giving up too much. He's not really taking any risks.
You know what I think is happening? Okay, so these mutas, the Hydralisk count dropped. He made mutas. Hydras are popping out. Now we see Lings being made, so I think he's going to make a ton of Banelings now and try to just win in one fell swoop.
Well, this is pretty smart. What you're doing is you're forcing them to get all those Hydras out, and then with the Baneling response, suddenly all the Hydras die. And this is like a fun game that Zerg plays in actually almost any matchup if it gets long enough along, since they can make so many units at once and switch tech so dramatically.
Baneling supply is markedly low for its strength in a single fight.
Okay, here we go.
Okay, those Banelings with speed running through. Some good splitting actually going down. The Banelings maybe not getting quite the connections they want. Some of these clouds coming down and making these roaches walk forward. There are a lot of Hydras in here.
Yeah, he's doing a really good job here. Dark actually beginning to push back, but at the same time, he's closer to the rally point here. Dark has got a very good rally point set up here. It just does not matter, though. The sheer number of Hydras that he had back there and the bad Baneling connection didn't really allow for that attack to be stifled. And Dark is now tied it up 1-1.
Yeah.
Or Lucira's tied it up 1-1, excuse me.
You're quite right. Dark, when he made the mutas, the thing is, like, muta damage output is, like, kind of low, right? So you make 6-8 mutas. This is a bunch of your supply that could have been roaches popping out to help. And I feel like that is at least a small part of why he took so much damage there at his third base.
Yeah.
But I guess it kind of opened up this little transitionary point where he tries to get around Losira and kill him with the Banelings. But his economy was already hurt. Lucira's army was getting really strong. And once again, this kind of looks like Lucira's first series against Sue. Lose the first game to a Zergling Rush, and then win the long macro game.
What exactly does Dark do in the next game? I think Dark is maybe at his strongest in the first few minutes of a ZDZ. He definitely knows how to open up and possibly engineer a lead. But it does seem like Losira is perfectly fine in a long macro ZDZ.
Yeah.
Does Dark try to do some kind of rush? Does he try to run around with Lings?
Well,
our next map's on Newkirk Precinct. Again, the winner goes on to face off against Maru in our last match in tonight's GSL.
Heaven shall burn in a cloud of fire. We stand, fight, we start war. Are you ready to fight?
In the bottom left, in the blue,
Losira.
and in the bottom right, in the red. I guess this answers our question for how he opens.
Dark.
He's just better with this type of opening, I think. Just in general, like each matchup, he's better if he goes for gas and pool early. This one's earlier than the other ones. The other one's like a macro opening with speed. This one's a more aggressive opening, but still, like, Dark needs to dictate a little bit.
You know, we looked at that mass Reaper opening, 3-racks Reaper, and it seems to be in a build like that something that's really focused on control of the matchup with very good tactics. Whereas in Dark's case, in this matchup, he wants to open up with control by having the early pool. but the option to mix in deception because he can hide his lings around the map, and if the opposing player isn't balancing and reading correctly everything, Dark just knows what to do.
Definitely the cleverest of the Zergs. The closest to a modern-day Nestea, I would say.
Yeah.
Not in championship count or something like that.
I can imagine
but,
Dark...
just the brainy way he plays the game.
I can just imagine Dark going home after this and going, mirror, mirror on the wall, or esports mirror on the wall, who's the most deceptive of them all? But then SOS's face appears in there, and he's like, no! No, he's pretty sneaky, and he's going to go for the same idea again.
Just run completely around the Overlords here. losira actually has an Overlord that's headed in a kind of funny position that could end up seeing these Zerglings on the way. So that's kind of cool. Look at this Overlord. This is such a funny...
Well,
I think he's looking specifically for things like this, too.
Yeah, well, it didn't work, unfortunately.
How many drones does he make? This is looking very much like Game 1. He's up to 22 drones. He had 23 on the game that he lost previously with the same builds.
This is going to be pretty sad if he loses this here. Okay, he sees some of the lings, but I think at this point in time, the momentum is really here for Dark. And once again, just like the last game, he kills off 2 lings right at the start. There's drones at the ramp that can't quite close this out.
Yeah, he's just going to withdraw all the way into his main base. He knows he can't quite hold the ramp right now, but he started the spine early enough that I think he'll be able to at least live.
Okay, good surround here on these lings, really reducing the count.
Yeah, look at that double spine.
Okay, here we go. Baneling's coming in from the side. The drones are splitting.
Oh, that's a good drone splitting as well. I am really impressed by that. Baneling's actually coming up and doing some damage here. Oh my god, is Dark just going to win like this?
I think he might just barely. We still have 1 Baneling out here. There's not really anywhere for the drones to go. There's a second spine coming up here.
Blow it up!
Oh my god.
Oh, that is a lot of red drones.
But it's not over yet. I mean, he can still hang on. He waits really long.
Yeah.
For those.
God! Look at how many drones he can actually end up killing here. Just finishing them off with 2 Zerglings. A couple more Banes on the way right now.
Okay, 1 Baneling or 1 Zergling here to try to take out this Bane. More lings coming up now. He's going to try to take out that last Baneling. He does. But again, remember, a lot of these are in the red. Oh, 16!
Oh my god, and losira will end the day as he began, dying straight up to Ling Baneling all-ins.
Well, Dark did what he had to do to win, and now we have Dark versus Maru for our last match of the day.
Yeah, so a rematch of that opening second match. A lot of the same stuff happening over and over again today, Tasteless. A lot of Ling Baneling all-ins against losira. A lot of Maru versus Dark. A lot of 3-Rax Reaper.
Well, let's see.
As much as things change, they stay the same.
That's true. Maru's had a lot of time to reflect on how to face off against a player of Dark's caliber. Does he stick with the 3-Rax Reaper? Does he go back to his more traditional style? We're going to find all that out soon after this short break.